Hello, and a warm welcome to all of you from around the globe for joining us in this critical discussion on modernization of transport infrastructure with geospatial technologies and analytics. Now, first of all, it gives me immense pleasure to bring this all live, this live webinar in front of all of you from our GW studios for the very first time, and hence you see a different setup compared to our previous webinars for some of you who have joined us in the past as well. Uh, now, today's webinar, the focus is on a very critical aspect of urbanization, if you see, and urban development in general, which is the aspect of transportation infrastructure. Now, for a brief moment, I would like to draw your attention to our webinar on urban development, which was held back in 2024. Now, some of you who had joined us there on that webinar, you should know that the kind of learnings that we got when we learned that India's urban system is already the second largest in the world, wherein close to 40% of the country's population is going to reside in urban areas by 2036. And from an economic standpoint, of course, the UD sector is going to contribute immensely, making up for almost 70% for the country's GDP. India's geospatial market for the urban development sector will be around 3.4 thousand crores, aided by various kinds of conducive initiatives by the government. Now, however, as we look at this exciting projection, it is also important for us to keep an eye on the supporting infrastructure that will facilitate this drive. Now, this is where the transportation or the transport sector finds real prominence, which brings us to today's discussions. So, for today's webinar, we have got a great lineup of experts for our webinar, featuring experts from the Adani Group, Amberg Infocon, Cognitive Navigation, Bentley Systems, S3 India, and Survey of India. Now, before that panel discussion, I'm sure most of you have registered, are waiting to hear those perspectives, interesting perspectives. I would also like to bring your attention introducing our GW knowledge expert, Mr. Titas Roy. Now, Titas Roy is the industry manager for infrastructure, and he will be the one today who will first of all share some interesting market numbers to set the context for this perspective that we want to bring in today through this webinar. And there is a small presentation highlighting some of these analysis and numbers, that we are going to focus and will bring to you today. Let me welcome my colleague Titas Roy.
Thank you, Pradipto. Thank you for the lovely words and the kind introduction. Actually, thank you for the opportunity for giving me the stage for presenting today on the webinar. The topic will be geospatial technology market for Indian transport infrastructure sector. Without wasting much more time, I would really like to jump into the presentation. So, as I said, the topic for the day is geospatial technology market for the Indian transport infrastructure sector. Coming to the sectoral overview, so we know that the transport infrastructure sector in this country, we can roughly divide it into 4 subsectors: the roads, railways, and metros, ports, as well as the airports. So based on our analysis, and this has been furnished in our different syndicated reports as well, the transport sector in India is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of approximately 20% in between 2019 and 2025. And of the 4 transport subsectors, as you can see on the screen, the road and the highways are of national priority for the Indian government right now. Approximately 24 lakh crores of INR crores of investment has been estimated in between 2020 to 2025, which is closely followed by the railways, which is around 15 lakh crores. 40% of the investments, that has been forecasted for the national infrastructure pipeline. I'll get into the national infrastructure pipeline very shortly. In the next 5 years, it has been designated for transportation-related infrastructure. So that kind of, very well sums up how important, transport infrastructure is right now, and the development of transport infrastructure is for the government of India. So, coming to the national infrastructure pipeline, this can be regarded as one of the most flagship projects or flagship programs right now. Launched in August 2020, the aim was to provide world-class infrastructure to citizens as well as improve their quality of life. How are they doing it? It includes around 7,400 projects in various stages of implementation across sectors such as housing, water, sanitation, transport, as well as logistics. Uh, it basically creates an opportunity to employ different geospatial technologies across different phases, ranging from plan and design to project monitoring as well as management. If you look at the left part of the screen, we have some graphics to basically showcase how the share has been in terms of the national infrastructure pipeline. In terms of the funding, 39% investments is coming from the central government, whereas the respective state governments, they are also funding around 39%, and the remaining 22% is from the private sector. And if you look at the breakup according to the different subsectors, energy sector, that is the highest for receiving the funding, which is 25 lakh crores, closely followed by the road, which is 20 lakh crores. Different irrigation, rural agriculture, and food processing infrastructure projects has been allocated 16 lakh crores, which is the same as the mobility sector as well. Railway has been allocated around 14 lakh crores, followed by digital infrastructure, which has 3.2 lakh crores, and ports and airports around 2.5 lakh crores. So that's a great deal of investment that is there, especially for the national infrastructure pipeline in our country. Uh, Coming to the next project, this is another big project, a big flagship project, and the reason it's important is because how it has kind of highlighted the use of technology, especially the geospatial technology. So this is the PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan. It kind of aims to bring together 16 ministries, including the railways and the roadways, for an integrated planning and coordinated implementation of infrastructure projects. It will help in enhancing the connectivity through a comprehensive plan, and that will integrate roads, railways, airs, as well as the waterway networks. As I mentioned, it utilizes a GIS-based ERP, or a enterprise resource planning platform, for real-time project monitoring and coordination. It targets to significantly reduce logistical costs, which currently stands around 13-14% of the GDP, and the main target of this project is to significantly reduce this cost. Coming to some of the market insights that we have gathered, particular due to India's transport infrastructure sector, we conducted different surveys, for our reports that we have come up with over the last few years. From the survey results, it's quite evident that when it comes to the reason of using geospatial technologies in India's transport infrastructure sector, improved planning is one of the foremost reasons that has been tick marked by most of the stakeholders that we have talked to, closely followed by improved workforce management and smarter decision making. Apart from that, reduction in operations cost as well as project cost, sometimes bringing transparency into the project as well as the policy mandate. These are some of the other reasons that the stakeholders have, noted that these can be the reasons why geospatial technology has been at a uptake. Coming to the challenges and benefits, the challenges first. The clarity with regards to geospatial strategy. That is one of the main challenges that most of the stakeholders has been saying, followed by the lack of initiative as well as awareness in the top management. Lack of clarity in the project scope or unclear, sometimes very much changing nature of the project scope. This is another challenge that kind of hinders the adoption of geospatial technologies, followed by lack of infrastructure as well as budget constraints. In terms of the values and benefits, again, faster decision making and improved project monitoring occupies the first two ranks. It is closely followed by improved efficiency, enhanced safety, as well as the project cost reduction. This next slide, it basically tries to capture the geospatial technology maturity of India's transport infrastructure sector across the 4 stages. And if you look at the graph closely, it can be well observed that at the first 2 stages, which is the surveying and the plan and the design stage, the uptake of technologies is still better in a better position than comparing it to the build stage and the operations and maintenance. So, for example, right now the current maturity, if you look at the current maturity in terms of the surveying, most of the transport infrastructure projects are using total stations, remote sensing, and satellite imageries. But we do foresee that in the future, very near future, we will be using a lot of advanced scanning technologies like lidars, drones, mobile mapping, GPR, in a very near future. When it comes to the planning and design part, CAD, BIM, GIS, and sometimes also integrated BIM and GIS. These kind of marks the current maturity, but we do foresee that there will be a lot of uptake of digital twins, reality capture, immersive solutions, artificial intelligence, and machine learning as well. Uh, Coming to the built phase, as I told, it's the maturity is a little less than planning design. So traditional machinery and paper-based construction drawing still kind of finds its use in the build stage. But we do envision that BIM is going to play a big role in the future, as well as GNSS-enabled machine control system, additive construction, as well as prefabrication. These kind of techniques will soon come into play. That's the future maturity looks like. And finally, the operations and maintenance stage. Right now, a lot of facility management, solutions, spreadsheets, CAD, as well as nascent stage of BIM can be observed. But we do foresee that BIM and digital twin will be used in the current future, at least for the operations and maintenance of infrastructure projects in India. Coming to the Indian geospatial market by sectoral market share. So in this slide, I'm trying to kind of portray where in transport infra lies. So if you look at the slide, it's quite evident that transport infrastructure is around, it kind of occupies the 4th rank, just below the utilities and the urban development. In 2022, it approximately has a share of 10% of the total market share of the geospatial market. And it is forecasted to be around approximately 11% in 2025. Yeah, coming to the geospatial market size and the forecast. And this is for the transport infrastructure, and we have done it by technology subsegment. So we see that the total figure around 2019, it was calculated as 1140 INR crores, which grew at a compound annual growth rate of approximately 12% to almost 1600 INR crores in 2022. Further forecast revealed that by 2025, this market size is poised to reach around 2470 INR crores. If you look at the sub-segmentation of the different technologies, we see that GNSS and positioning captures majority of the share. However, if you look at the CAGR changes from 2019 to 2022, Earth observation, it really deserves a special mention because the CAGR it kind of it's more than double. According to our forecast, which was around 12 in 2019 to 2022, for the timeline 2022 to 25, it grows as much as 32%. Even GIS and spatial analytics, for that matter, is also going to double over the timeline of 2022 to 2025, and it is expected to reach around 413 INR crores. The market size of the GIS and spatial analytics. Before I end the presentation, I have a few successful case studies that I would like to talk about. These are both national case studies, because I would like to kind of, for the audience members, it would be nice to showcase how these technologies are actually getting implemented. So for example, this is one of the very important project, and innovative remote sensing and 3D technologies kind of drove success in India's Atal Tunnel project. The challenges that there was a very there were challenging geotechnical conditions in this range, in this area, because it involves in the Pir Panjal range in the Himalayas, and it required careful consideration of the natural challenges and the erratic snowfall and this kind of weather conditions prevailed during most of the construction part. How the solutions helped? So precision was achieved in the preliminary survey using remote sensing and different GPS systems, while digital levels with total stations, that kind of identified the discrepancies in the subsequent traditional surveys. Aerial surveys via helicopters were also performed for evaluation of the site analysis, and it also helped in gathering essential site-specific data. If you look at the value proposition, this tunnel substantially reduced the ongoing cost associated with snow clearance and the maintenance part of the passes, and the all-weather route, it will ensure consistent year-round connectivity across the different regions in the vicinity, like Spiti, Lahaul, and the Panji region. Moving to the next case study, this case study, it leveraged technology for integrated construction of the Warsaw-Bandra Sea Link project in Mumbai. Again, a very important and flagship project in this country. And we see that different solutions, different geospatial solutions helped, in terms of the value propositions that we see, it streamlined the file sharing and collaborative efforts among the project team significantly, and it reduced design time, and effective clash detection can also be performed, which kind of helped in substantial saving in the construction cost as well as the time. Before I end, I'd like to give a glimpse of our work in the technology advocacy that we have done in the transport infrastructure sector. For example, these two reports, Geospatial Artha and the Geobuiz 23. If you want more details on what these reports have as a content, I would request you to reach out to me. My email ID is titash@geospatialworld.net, or my colleague Pradipto, and we will be happy to share more information on these reports. Thank you, Pradipto. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you, Titas. That was a very interesting presentation that you brought, for all of us and for the audience. And of course, you did mention about the importance of the adoption of these technologies and how, in general, the survey respondents from the Indian market have kind of pinpoint, on the real reasons were behind their adoption of geospatial technologies. And we see the kind of scope that you're talking about in terms of the development of the industry in general, or the geospatial sector for the transport infrastructure segment. However, of course, we need to delve deeper, and I'm sure that during your panel discussion with our experts, we should be able to get more ideas in terms of if there are any bottlenecks or challenges, and also learn few more interesting case studies as we proceed along. So I think we have about 3-4 minutes, and we were supposed to have a Q&A, but I think we can only take a couple of questions maybe, because I already see a few ones which are popped up in front of us. So I'll straight away head to one of the questions that we have from our audience, and this question comes to you, wherein the audience would like to understand what are the factors. You spoke about that 16% CAGR growth in India, right? In India's geospatial market for transport sector from 2022 to 2025. So what are the factors that are driving this expected growth from the geospatial market's perspective? If you could elaborate.
That's a very interesting question, Pradipto. There are actually, the factors are manifold.
Mm-hmm.
If I would like to narrow down the top 4 of the reasons, I would suggest that one is the increasing awareness,
Mm-hmm.
Among the different state governments as well as the central government, and that kind of dictates the different policies or guidelines that we have been seeing coming into place over the last few years. One of the most important one being the National Geospatial Policy. Apart from that, different programs like Smart City Mission, for that matter of fact, it had a huge component of technology, involved. The Digital India also kind of played a big role in the kind of the uptake of geospatial technology adoption. Other reasons, one of the main reasons I would believe is the very nature of the geospatial technologies, and the capabilities, the unique capability of the geospatial technologies. And when we kind of try to compare these technologies with the traditional methods, you do not just need, obviously there are supporting successful case studies always,
Mm-hmm.
but even when you kind of start delving into these technologies, you can make sure that okay, you're going to save a lot of time, or you're going to save a lot of time when you are employing these technologies. One challenge, however, when you are employing these technologies, is that the cost part of it. So obviously, because in bigger projects is still fine, but when it comes to smaller projects, done by smaller organizations, it might be a bit difficult, because the high, initial cost, the initial investment is quite high. But I know with the help of these new policies that are coming into place and the mandates as well, this
field of playing is kind of leveling out,
kind of getting leveled.
Yeah.
Right. And also the awareness, as I was mentioning, the awareness is much stronger these days.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I believe another reason is opening up to different public and private partnerships, the PPPs that we call.
Yep.
So when there is a partnership between private sector as well as the public sector, what it helps is kind of solving these challenges. Like for example, the public sector can be helped by the private sector in terms of the funding part of it.
Yeah.
Right. Also the research and the development, which is basically kind of helping these technologies even grow even further. I mean, the very nature of the satellite images that we have, comparing it to maybe 20 years back, we have much more detailed information when we look at these imageries.
True.
The drones, for example, the specifications, if you look at the specifications 20 years back, the drones were not as effective as these drones are. GIS, for example, even BIM, for that matter of fact, these technologies are ever expanding, and the different organizations or the different software companies who are basically developing these softwares, they are constantly developing it, constantly improving these technologies. And that is one of the, I believe, one of the main reasons which the stakeholders right now in India are finding these technologies are of great help. Another reason I would really like to touch upon is the flagship projects. I talked about the National Infrastructure Pipeline, and I talked about how there are almost approximately 5,000 projects only listed under the National Infrastructure Pipeline. But there are other projects like Bharat Mala Pariyojana. There are different so many metro networks coming in different cities, not only the tier 1 cities, but also the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So these there are huge number of projects, and the basic nature of the working has changed over the few years. Over the recent past, the government projects don't take as much time as as it maybe used to be in the recent past. And yeah, so that is another reason, because all the contractors, they are understanding that there is an incentive. Sometimes there is an incentive behind finishing the projects faster, and they are trying to get the things done easily. So if you look at for example, if you look at the statistics of roads getting the amount of the speed of road getting constructed per day, it's close to 50 kilometers. It's a phenomenal thing. Correct. And you cannot achieve that without the applications or adoption of these technologies. So I believe that is one of the main reasons. Another one main reason why this there has been an uptick in this adoption.
So predominantly, I mean, the way we look at things, of course, government has been very much upfront and appreciative of these technological advancements.
Exactly.
And trying to bring them into policy measures, which kind of allows all these technology players or who wants to use it, more in the commercial aspect of it, and kind of bring it, institutionalize it in the mainstream systems. So I think, yeah, that's a very interesting point that you brought out. And well, we have probably another question that we could take up, and if you could answer that, because that is something very interesting that I see that has come up. Well, the question is about how do you want to talk about the digital twin, the impact of digital twin technologies in India's transport sector. I mean, should the sector really prioritize digital twin and other emerging technologies or frontier technologies, yeah, as we say, with geospatial data and analytics, of course? So if you could throw some light on that.
Right. Again, a great question. And I believe, just after this session, we will be having a panel discussion, and there are eminent panelists, and I believe they are the best judge to this, they will be giving the best answer to this question.
Well, let's hear your thoughts.
I will obviously give my opinion on this.
Sure.
And I think digital twins technology can significantly enhance India's transport infrastructure. And how is going to do it? By improving the planning, construction, and the operational efficiency.
Yep.
So what digital twin does is basically they create virtual models, virtual 3D models of infrastructure projects, and it allows accurate simulation as well as the real-time monitoring. So which is not only helping in the plan or design or the build phase of it, it is also helping in the operations and maintenance part. And whatever I have been able to learn from the different discussions that I had with the leaders in this industry and also the stakeholders of this project, is that operations and maintenance is one of the stages where maximum amount of money goes into being because a building can be built, or a transport project, it can be built in 5 years or 10 years, but it is going to be there for eternity, and you have to kind of maintain it. You have to make sure that it is operational.
True.
You have to make sure that it is safe. You have to make sure that it is sustainable. And this is exactly where digital twin kind of plays its part. The ability to predict maintenance needs and optimize performance through continuous data analysis, it kind of further expands the lifespan of these projects, and it also ensures that these systems are peaking at their operational, at the best of their operational efficiency. It also enhances safety and sustainability, as I mentioned, by sometimes simulating risk scenarios in cases of disaster management, with the help of a lot of data already collected. Digital twin can kind of provide real-time alerts. It kind of enables a better preparedness and quick interventions during this kind of mishaps, like natural calamities. And I believe just not digital twin, the other emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, for that matter of fact, these are also enabling data-driven decision making. It is very crucial for effective, long-term planning and policy formulation. So I think digital twin has a huge role to play in the years to come. And since we have a very forward-looking approach right now, especially in terms of the Indian infrastructure, transport infrastructure, just not transport, whole infrastructure as a matter of fact. So yeah, I think digital twin is here to stay, and it's very important. And I'm very excited to know what our esteemed panelists are going to also say about this.
Oh, well, of course, very well said. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, we, of course, we wanted to take a few more questions, and wanted to hear our knowledge experts' perspective on this. However, I think we already have our esteemed panelists, awaiting at the backstage, and I think we shouldn't make them delay, and their discussions, and you awaiting their presence here, among us today. So without further ado, I would request our admin to, of course, give the introduction slide about our esteemed panelists today that we will be talking to. And of course, I would request Titas for you to stay back, because we would want you to be moderating this particular session, and kind of get many answers that some of our audience wanted to ask us, because they couldn't get this answer right now. But then, of course, I'm sure it will be addressed when we talk to these experts. So if I could have the introduction of our esteemed panelists onto the audience screen. Before I start welcoming our experts, I said right in the beginning that we have an ensemble of organizations which are representing the user side of the ecosystem, along with the technology providers. So we have experts from Esri India, we have from Bentley Systems, then of course cognitive navigation. We also have very senior representative from Amberg Infocon and the Adani Group. So I would, without taking further time, I would request my colleague Titas to take the introductions forward and usher in our esteemed panelists for today. Titas, the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Pradipto. Again, thank you for the opportunity. So I would like to call upon all our panelists for the day, one by one. So we start with Sudipto Chandra. Sudipto Chandra is the founder and director of Cognitive Navigations Private Limited. Hello.
Hello.
Our next panelist is Mr. Rohit. He is a solution architect for Bentley Systems. Hi, Rohit.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Our next panelist is Abhishankar Parashar. He's the group lead for transportation for Adani Group.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. Our next panelist is P.V. Rajshekhar. He's the additional surveyor general for Surveyor of India. Hi. Yeah. Our next panelist is Dr. Jay Vallav Gildial. He's the vice president of business process, Hamburg Infocon.
Hello everyone.
Hello, welcome. And our final panelist for the day, Ashish Dhawan. He's the senior consultant for infra, Esri India.
Hello everyone.
Hello. Thank you, and welcome everyone to this this panel discussion. So, I would like to go to each and every one of you, one after the other. And I would like my first question. So, what I would like you to is, kind of give a very short introduction of who you are and what are you doing in your organization, what is your organization doing, and kind of provide your opening remarks, which is kind of, your overview of the current state of the India's transport sector, and if you would like to touch upon some of the key pain points in this sector. So we can start with Sudipto.
All right. Thank you, Prakash, for inviting me, and thanks everyone and all the esteemed panelists. I am Sudipto. As far as I'm as an individual is concerned, I come with around 25 plus years of aviation experience at a management level of an airline, commercial airline. Uh, Working and looking after the aircraft performance and aircraft flight operational activity is not only in the domestic region, also at a global level. Means it's a global. It is Southeast Asia, Gulf, European, North America, Canada, and the transatlantic. So the with that sort of exposure, followed by the regulatory compliance and all other operational requirements, we found there is a huge amount of opportunity in the industry. The way industry has grown in last 10 years of time, and what is the present state today, and where it is heading for. That
Right.
triggered me of my coming out of from a high profile management portfolio from an airline industry and launch a startup under this startup policy, and we are based out of Mumbai. We are working towards some of the next gen technology applications, which during the course of our discussion we will explain what exactly we are trying to do.
Sure.
We'll bring out a very deep industry problem, and how the collaborative and the digital and decision intelligence is going to help us, and
Right.
the geospatial data is going to play one of the key role into the entire process. That in the discussion. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for your opening remark. Uh, I'd like to move to Rohit. Rohit.
Yeah. Thank you, Titas and Geospatial World for organizing these type of, I would say, knowledge sharing sessions and making people aware of what's happening in the industry. So thanks for that. And coming to my quick introduction, so myself Rohit, and like I work with Bentley Systems as a solution architect, and my role over here is very simple, I would say. So just to convey what is part of technology that Bentley provides and how it can help people in their projects through the Bentley technology adoption. And coming to Bentley, so it's a 40 years old company based in multiple, like 5 places in India, and we have a presence in multiple countries and serving for almost 190 plus countries. And our purpose is very simple. As said, like the purpose is to advance the world's infrastructure for the better quality of life. So that's our purpose. And we provide technology for multiple stages of infrastructure projects. So that's my and our organization introduction. And what's the purpose of technology, if you ask me? So see, with Indian transportation, as already you mentioned, so it's a rapid transformation that is undergoing, right?
Right.
And with that rapid transformation, there are challenges which should be balanced because of this rapid expansion in terms of projects that we are getting and considering the environmental impact that has. So that motivated me to look into as like basically I started my career as a designer, but then with the technology I felt okay, so this is where I should be, and this is how technology should be conveyed to the user. So that's why I'm with Bentley now. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rohit, for your opening introduction. We'll move on to Abhishankar.
And I hit this.
Sir, you're on mute.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. So I'm Avishankar Parashar. I head the transportation group basically of Adani, and
Yeah.
basically I look after for bidding process for future highway projects. And I have been working in transportation since last 20 years. After graduating from IIT Roorkee, and
Right.
I've done masters in transportation from United States in Florida, and have been working with Mr. Roy was telling for smart city and highways. So I have been working on many of the Bharatmala project, smart city projects for related to transportation planning, engineering work,
Right.
and then for the bidding, like for BOT projects, what will be the traffic in future, revenue in future. So these kind of work I do presently with Adani. So this is my brief introduction.
Thank you, Abhishankar. Moving on to Rajsekhar sir, PV Rajsekhar. Hi, sir. How are you
Hi,
doing?
fine, fine. Nice to meet you after such a long gap. And I thank Geospatial World for giving this opportunity, platform, at a time when National Geospatial Policy has been announced, and we all have been trying at our best to reach out to all stakeholders. And this is a right platform for us to reach out to the people. So thank you. It's a right initiative at the right time. Okay, I'm Rajshekhar, working for Survey of India as Additional Survey General, presently posted in Bangalore. And I have been in the industry for the last 34 years. I've grown with the technology and have vast experience of like any many of my colleagues in Survey of India, vast experience of managing, designing, developing large geospatial policy. So we just want to reach out to our people at a time when national geospatial policy is mandating every departments to make use of geospatial technology in bringing in more efficiency and transparency in their business processes. We want to offer our knowledge and experience and the lessons learned and the best practices we have put defined and refined in the last 200 years for the benefit of our people of the country. So we are looking forward for understanding your requirements and offering our help. And for all government organization, it would be free of cost. And so, thank you all. This is what we are looking forward for.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to Dr. Gildial. Sir, your opening remarks.
Special for inviting me for this particular event. And as far as my introduction is concerned, I'm Dr. Geobuiz Gildial. I'm basically the geologist by background,
Yep.
and currently I'm working with the Ember Group. One of the company is the Ember Infocon, and another one is the Ember Engineering. In fact, two companies which are operating in India, and we are basically providing the BIM, FM, GIS services to our clients. So
Right.
as far as my background is concerned, I am from a very different background I worked with. So starting from the petroleum as a geologist in petroleum industry, then I moved to software industry, served in different positions in software organizations. And one of the most important challenging factor which I have seen is that I worked with Archibus as a technical consultant for South Asia, and Archibus is providing the facility management services to the clients across the world. So that was the very good learning lesson for me. And from there, because right now in Amberg Infocon, what we are doing, we are creating the BIM models of our facilities, and from BIM model to say for moving towards the facility management, and then integrating the different technologies which is coming up, which is AI, IoT, bidding automation systems, and to get the informations in the form of dashboard for the top management and data churning from bottom to top, so that the people can understand what is the actually is going on inside the facility. So maybe down the line we will discuss about this. And the most important part nowadays is that which type of BIM services you are providing. So typically we are providing the LOD 500. So LOD 500 means our model is ready for the operation and maintenance. This one integrations where we are talking about the digital twin. So if GIS is integrated and other technologies are integrated, so based on that we can get the analysis. Based on that we can get the output, and then we can take the proper decision at the
Right.
proper level. That is what we are currently doing. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. We'd like to understand more when we get to the questions. Ashish, you're next. Your opening
Yeah,
remarks.
thanks. Thanks a lot. I would first like to thank Geospatial for inviting me for this. This is really a good session where we'll be talking about how Geospatial will be working for infrastructure. About myself, I am Ashish Dhawan and I have over 2 decades of experience. Initially, I was more into the software development part. I did enterprise solution planning, and presently I'm working with ESRI India. We are
Right.
headquartered at Noida, and our ESRI is one of the most preferred platform. My role here is as a senior consultant infrastructure, and why I took this role was because we know that infrastructure is becoming very, very important in upcoming years. We have seen it in last decade, and for the upcoming decade, as even your figures showed, it is really important. And
Yeah.
about ESI technology, it provides an end-to-end technology. It not only starts from the data preparation stage, but from the data preparation to designing of the of any project, planning of a project, implementation of a project, and
Right.
definitely O&M. And one more important aspect which I would like to talk about from the ESRI perspective is that we are more easy to use, more configurable, because of which we give ready to use solutions which can help work in not many other sectors, but infrastructure, definitely in infrastructure and transportation as well.
Right. Thank you, Ashish. So, without wasting any time, I would really like to get started with the question. So, my first question is to Shudipto. Uh, can you provide an overview of the current state of India's aviation infrastructure, since you have a great background from that sector? And what are the key pain points that are there still in the sector, and how do you think, what is the digital transformation, what is the level of digital transformation that has been achieved, especially by India's aviation sector? Over to
Right.
you, Shud.
Thanks, Vedas. It's a great question, first of all. When we talk about an aviation infrastructure, generally, I mean, if I'm talking the first, emphasizing the word generally, if we compare it with an other transport environment, you are able to see part of it in front of you, part of it you are not able to see in front of you. Means, as a person who's traveling by air, he is able to see the airport, he is able to see the takeoff and landing and so on and so forth. But what he is not able to see what exactly is happening in the en route phase. So when we talk about an aviation infrastructure, in totality, it includes every part of it. It starts
Right.
from the airport level, it goes to the airspace level, and the moment it comes to the airport and the airspace level, the ball game abruptly changes.
Right.
So if you see the overall Indian airspace, Indian airspace is divided into two elements of it. Fundamentally, it is a continental airspace, means it is a terrestrial airspace, and the oceanic airspace. The oceanic airspace is such a large area, so the aircrafts which are departing or landing not only into India, apart from that, there is a very large amount of aircrafts are overflying and crossing the Indian airspace. So that is because of the geographical position of northern part of the Himalaya and this, right, towards east from Southeast Asia to Gulf and Europe, and from west side means Europe and Gulf to Asia Pacific. All aircraft which are flying, majority of it are passing through this sector, this Indian airspace.
Right.
That poses a huge amount of challenge in terms of the managing the airspace. So in terms of the infrastructure, when India in last 10 years has grown significantly at a faster rate, like when I say fast growth means that the number of airports started going up. In existing means new airports. In existing airports, there have been advancement in the infrastructure, means runways are extended, more number of taxiways, bigger amount of terminals. So basically it is more preparedness towards handling a bigger amount of traffic. The once airports are getting enhanced, simultaneously airspace are also getting restructured. There is different sectorization of the airports are sorry airspace are happening to manage the dynamic traffic. Oceanic airspace are getting restructured to manage the departing traffic as well as the overflying traffic. The flight, every airport for takeoff and landing, you need to have a flight procedure design for departure and the arrival. These are typically name is a standard instrument departure and arrivals. So those type of new procedure design needs to be developed for each and every airport for new procedure and needs to be brought in for revalidation for the existing procedure. There is a new element has come up which is in compared to the aircraft avionics. That the element is called the performance-based navigation. When aircrafts are enhancing its capability, obviously it has got a better ability to get packed into the same portion of the airspace. Means again the higher amount of the capacity management. That is also happening. So now with this entire the way the growth is happening, regulator has also come up in moderating multiple sort of regulations. It is nowadays more stringent because more amount of the traffic. There's a monitoring is much higher, surveillance programs are much higher. Simultaneously, what air navigation service provider, that is an ANSP, which is Airport Authority of India, the autonomous body under civil aviation, they have also come up to some of the element called that is collaborative decision making, which is at an airport level, that is called ACDM, airport level collaborative decision making, and air traffic flow management, which is typically the miniature replication model of Europe's Eurocontrol model, which is it's a single sky connecting to the large portion of the air traffic. So India also internally connecting with so many airports to manage a better traffic flow. So with this much of growth is already happening, or the changes internally happening within Indian aviation environment in last 10 years. Now what we are seeing it going forward. Like if I tell you some of the typical numbers, it is going to give you an perspective. Number of aircraft from 400 to 750, it has grown in last 10 years. But in next 20 years, the Boeing commercials outlook says that there will be 2,700 new aircraft will be inducted, and out of which more than 80% is going to be this in this region. That means that India and Asia Pacific is going to go for a very high boom, where India remains in the center point. So with that sort of infrastructural growth, we need to have a biggest pain point is that managing the capacity. And to manage the capacity, the technology is definitely needed, but what is more needed, the collaboration among the key stakeholders. That is in today's situations, there is a challenge. All stakeholders, when you say key stakeholder, typically I'll just name it out, that is an air navigation service provider, who that is a typically we know as an air traffic control, but air traffic, they have got multiple internal bifurcations, like somebody is an airspace management, flight procedure design, air traffic control, they themselves separately. Airports, followed by airlines, followed by regulators, and the aviation service provider, that is an AVSP. This entire 5 or 6 blocks together, they are the key stakeholders of the entire aviation infrastructure. Obviously, traveling passenger remains the final the recipient of the services. So collaborations among these key stakeholders needs to be bridged up through technology, and that is the biggest challenging elements in today's industry, which is trying to keep a pace with the rapid expansion. And eventually, we need to work towards that. Starting from regulator, every stakeholder is working, and there also we pitching to bring in some sort of next gen solutions. So that is what I would like to summarize in short. That what is the status of the industry and what are the pain points.
Thank you, Sudipto, for this perspective on aviation sector. Moving on to Rohit, my question kind of remains the same to you, but only from the purview of the roads, highways, and the railway sector. What do you think is the current scenario like, the pain points, and how much of digital transformation are you seeing in these sectors? Rohit. You're on mute, Rohit.
Yeah, sorry for that glitch. So yeah, So thank you for the question. So coming to the question on the specific part of transportation, focusing on roads and railways. So if I just take the past decade itself as an example, so we almost now at present we stand at around 1,47,000 plus kilometers of highway network, and we being a third largest rail network in the world. Right. So and the plan or the ambitious target of government is to add additional, like I would say, around 2 lakh kilometers of road network by 2025 is what in the plan. And coming to the other aspects like multimodal logistic parks, waterways, so there is a huge target ahead compared to the growth that is planned. But the challenge comes with skilled resources, the adoption of the technology. And as per the McKinsey report, which was conducted earlier, so the construction industry is at the bottommost in the table for adoption of the technology. Out of 22 industry sectors that were surveyed, the construction industry is at the moment at 21st ranking. So that is what the adoption of technology. So there is a huge task ahead for adoption of the right technology throughout planning, building, and operation and maintenance. So that is what should be the focus of our construction sector. And with that said, like there can be multiple aspects why we need to go for technology. So there will be an addressing of I would say in terms of global emissions. So you talked about the Warsaw Bandra ceiling project, right? So there you
Yeah.
mentioned, so there was a I would say change or avoiding of traffic delays, which actually
Yes.
resulted in what? It resulted in the reducing carbon emission. And with the right set of technology, if we adopt into our projects or into the infrastructure sector, so there could be, I would say, better sustainability and environmental goals that can be achieved throughout the construction sector.
Right. Thank you, Rohit. Moving on to Abhishankar, I. So my question for you is, what are some of the key digital transformation initiatives that Adani Group has implemented in the transportation sector, and how have these initiatives kind of impacted your project outcome? If you can give us a brief on that.
Okay, for this, we can say like Adani or any other concessionaires, they are for this thing, these kind of technology, because we are into road construction, so traffic management is an important part for it. So
Right.
when you a road require maintenance, contractor must work with local council to agree on lane and road closures. And these closures are granted for a specific period, making deadline extremely important. If contractor fail to meet, they face significant. So disruption needs to be avoided where possible, night and weekend closures. And
Hmm.
uh, AI will play major role in this. It is now being used to ensure the project meet expected deadlines by helping minimize road closure time and
Right.
create effective traffic management strategies based on optimum use of labor and equipments. So our group also has taken some initiatives in this regard. Presently, we are working on the largest expressway of the country, that is Ganga Expressway, and traffic management is traffic movement during construction is important because it is although it's a green field, but there are few brown field patches are there, and traffic movement during construction using AI tools. We are in the process, but although AI is quite new in the market and in construction, it has not taken uh, full-fledged. It has not come. So, but in future, AI will be used for effective management of traffic during construction, and so that disruptions can be avoided where possible, and all the night and weekend closures of yeah, which will be approved by the clients.
Right.
AI will be the better tool to showcase them all these. Like we have schemes, different kind of schemes which is used to channelize the traffic during construction. So AI will
Yeah.
be a good tool to showcase all these things to the client and then get the approval done.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Vishankar. Moving on to PV Rajshekhar. So we already we kind of it's kind of evident that how important surveys are when it comes to transportation infrastructure projects. So having said that, can you provide an overview of the Survey of India's role in supporting the modernization of the transport infrastructure sector? And also, it's a two-part question. And what are the kind of key digital transformation initiatives has been taken forward by Survey of India in the recent past?
Thanks, Titus. Anyway, it gives me an opportunity to make things very clearer to our stakeholders. Actually, as far as the role of Survey of India is concerned, this has been very clearly defined and mandated in the National Geospatial Policy 2022 itself. That wherein certain number of foundation data base creation has been very clearly stipulated. But other than that, there is one what is that overarching responsibility on the part of Survey of India to extend hand holding to all those organizations in managing this digital transition, what is expected out of them in using the geospatial technology, in bringing in more efficiency and effectiveness in whatever they are doing as part of their mandate. So, in this regard, I just wanted to make it very clear by making
Mhm.
use of the experience and expertise what Survey of India has gained over the years in handling national level geospatial projects. I can make it very clear to all the stakeholders and all the organizations and the government who wants to venture into this transition that we can help them right from beginning, that is of conceptualizing, designing, developing, implementing and managing the entire the transition which they have in mind, by helping them to even conceptualize the database what they want, and customizing the kind of the domains, and customizing the attributes or the characteristics of their assets and inventories what they'll have to organize before they make use of geospatial technology, and in bringing the capacity building and selecting the right technology suitable for their implementation, and even finalizing the specifications, technical specifications that are required, and then even finalizing the tender document, and then even assisting them in awarding the contract. That means the entire life cycle of managing the transition which is required for meeting geospatial policy 2022 in the context of making use of geospatial data and its capability can be extended by Survey of India, and free of cost to the government, all government organization and academy. So I think I have made it very clear. We are ready, open, prepared to take the challenge of
Right.
ensuring that the mandates are taken to his fruition. Thank you. Anything
Thank you.
more?
Yeah, moving on to Dr. Gildial. So my question for you, sir, is we kind of got from you from your opening remarks about your organization. So we would like to know more about what innovative geospatial solutions is your organization Amberg Infocon implemented recently, and how have these solutions kind of helped, or rather, what was the impact on the project outcomes of these, on the project outcomes?
Yeah, in fact, as far as Amberg Infocon is concerned, so we are primarily in the BIM services. So what we develop the BIM models, and once the BIM model means there are different type of BIM models, like we call it LOD 100, LOD 200, 300, 400, and 500. So we have the capabilities to develop the LOD 500 models, which is not only the vertical means building, but also we are specialized in the horizontal also, like road utilities we can create in 3D models, and based on those then once we have those models is ready, then what we do at LOD 500, we create the database for all the component which is there within that model. Now you just consider that if we are creating a building, and building have thousands of components, and those informations if we have recorded into a database, and that database we can integrate with the say facility management, or we call it EIM, that is enterprise emission modeling, where this data will go inside that, and based on that then we create the different dashboards, like say for operation and maintenance. First of all, we have to have all the asset which is tagged during the building of that model is now available, and complete life cycle. In fact, you have spoken about that life cycle management, where the construction cost and maintenance cost, there is a huge difference between both of them, right?
Right.
So in normally, in fact, we consider the construction cost around 10 to 20%, but for life cycle of that particular asset, for the duration of, say for example, 40 years or 50 years, that is more than 60 to 70%. So to trap that huge amount by automating the processes, so that say operation and maintenance means, in that case what you can do, you can have your own SLA which is defined. Maybe in facility management we call on demand services, or second one is the preventive, and nowadays in fact the most important part which people are or organizations is coming with is the predictive maintenance. So before uh, just so just sorry, in fact that is a call from someone. So
Okay, no problem.
for that the workflow is defined inside that, and once that database which is we have created during creations of the BIM model is now available for the operation and maintenance, right? So now just one thing I want to tell you, that when we are talking about the GIS and integration of GIS with BIM, so in that case, we can go from the global level to the room level or the asset level. So all those informations are available to us, and based on that, we can maintain our facilities well with that workflow, right?
Right.
So, so that is the integrations of BIM, FM, AI, IoT, which we are right now doing, and we have a lot of our customers abroad also, where we are doing these type of services to them.
Right, right. Thank you, sir. I do have some other like follow-up question, but I'll come back to you soon. Moving to Ashish. So I would like to know from you, what are the latest advancements that can be seen in terms of digital transformation, especially for transport infrastructure projects related to the survey equipments, softwares, and solutions. And if you have some examples to share with us in that regard.
Sure, Ted. So, if you talk about the survey, so what is happening is that earlier the surveys, the kind of data which was collected was not that robust, but now with the latest techniques, the DGPS, the surveys which we are doing, what is happening is that we are trying to get more and more accurate information. We are also moving from this to, we are moving to drone and lidar surveys. Now, when we are
Right.
using drones, what is happening is that we are trying to give the path to the drone so that we can have more photographs of a particular area. And once we have those photographs, what we can do is we can actually create 3D models out of it. So that's the place where drone is actually playing a major role. And when we come to lidar, lidar is a latest technique. Yeah, it's a bit expensive, but then yes, people have started using it. Where the best part about that is you get to know each and every asset which is there. The AIML tools which are coming from the geospatial technology, we can, once they are integrated, we can do automated feature extraction, where or object detection, where we can extract roads, railways, trees, water bodies. So depending upon whatever asset you would like to, extract from that particular data, you can do it. And the kind of resolution, the data which are available are great. So when we talk about precision, during the planning stage itself or the designing stage itself, so if we have surveys which are coming from drone and lidar, they can be really, really very helpful. Now, once these data sets are there, what as Dr. Saab was also mentioning about the CAD and the BIM models which we have. Now, the one big challenge which that is that we don't have a geolocation component which is attached with the CAD models. But if we
Right.
have a geospatial technology, what happens is we can actually import that CAD information directly into it. Earlier, what used to happen was that there were different CAD drawings. There was a civil CAD drawing, there was utility CAD drawing for the same location, and all the planning was being done in silos, I would say. But now with the latest technology, what is happening is that once all these CAD drawings, if brought into one single system, we can very well easily plan, optimize the utility routes. So it's not only going to save a lot of ROI at the design stage itself, but it's also helping you plan your project at the planning stage. You will be able to plan, create designs in a much more robust way. So that's
Right.
the place where we are saying that geospatial technology is playing a major role. Now, especially in, also, I would like to take one more quick example of ports. There's a initiative from the government where they want to automate and digitize the ports. Now why that is there is what I see is that nowadays SAP and ERP integrations are there, and government is also talking about multimodal connectivity. So now we are not trying to just be limited to only road, railways, or ports. We would like to ensure that if we are trying to move a asset or move any good, it should move from one location to another in a much more seamless way. In the
Right.
latest scenario, we would have seen that in the case studies which we have seen that one of the automobile industry has moved from the roads where it was moving its cars from one location from Gujarat to Bombay. It was trying to use roads, but now it has, with the benefit of having railways, which is a two-tier railway, more number of automobiles can easily be transported. The planning can be done. So the multimodal connectivity planning, where we are talking about movement in a much more optimized way, again comes from the geospatial technology. So that's the thing I would like to bring about, that how geospatial technology is helping various sectors to come in a better way for planning perspective.
Right. Thank you, Ashish. I have a follow-up question to you since you mentioned about ports. When we compare it with projects related to like roadways or highway project, we do not really find that many great successful case stories when it comes to ports. So can you shed some light on that, like some of the flagship projects that we should be looking towards where a lot of digital transformation is being happening in terms of ports and waterway projects?
So that's a very good question. And what I would say is that even the government's perspective has changed here. If you would have seen just in last few years, most of the funding they are saying has not only for development of infrastructure of the port, but they're also saying that it's more of the digitization and automation of ports. Now, why that is required is because we know that if we are trying to move any goods, right, if it moves on a road, it suppose it can cost me 4 rupees. As soon as I move the same good on a road, it will cost me 2 rupees. And if I go through a port area or use my inland waterways, it will just cost me a rupee. So the focus from the government's perspective has also moved where they would like to ensure that the imports and exports, if there is a shorter route, optimized route, then we should be looking at that. And that's a place where the development of port is there. And one of the policies also, you would have seen that there is a national logistics policy which had been raised by the latest released 2 years back by the government. In the logistics policy, it has been clearly mentioned that we need to bring down the logistics cost. And if we need to bring down that, what we can do is that the only way is through automation. And if that thing can be done through plan at the planning stage itself, by ensuring that we follow the most optimized routes, we use the digital technologies to help you do that. This will be the right
Right.
way going ahead.
Right. Thank you, Ashish. Moving on to Shudipto, I would like to understand from you. Can you explain how geospatial analytics kind of help in the predictive maintenance and the efficient operations of airport facilities as well as ground service? And my second part of the question is: do you, like your organization, have your organization taken some kind of initiatives based on this? If you can shed some light on that.
Sure. So, the let us first understand what type of typical data we are using it in this context of our discussions. Like, we are typically using the aeronautical data. Aeronautical data means the airport data, airspace data. It has got a lot of position reports and those type of things. We are using the terrain data, that is the digital elevation, then digital surface model, digital terrain model, and those elements we are predominantly using it. So those elements are definitely required for the purpose of the aircraft operations largely. But your first part of the question, that in terms of the airport facilities operations and the ground services and the predictive maintenance, if I only focus on the first part of it, let us understand. I'm trying to explain this with an example. Let us understand one of the airport where number of aircraft movements are happening, let's say 40 movements per hour. That means either one aircraft, either landing or taking off, is in every less than 2 minutes, right?
Right.
It is typically around 1.5 minutes the movements are happening. So when that type of movement happens, I'm primarily concentrating in the more focused area, most busiest area of an airport, which is the runway. So that predominantly controls the entire traffic flow and the flow management of the entire airport. So if we need to see that level of close aircraft movement, obviously the set of aircraft which are departing and which are landing, they needs to be sequenced in a manner in a pretty much tightly controlled by air traffic control. So the departing traffics are aligned in a departure zone, that's for taxiways, and arriving traffic, they are controlled through the radar vectoring and the arrival procedure, where series of the aircraft, depending on what is their speed, what is their approach speed, what is their engine thrust, what is their wake turbulence category, based on that they are positioned with a lateral distance. So once these busy traffic movements are happening in a busy airport, like let's say Mumbai, let's say Delhi, that sort of situation, I'm giving an example. You find one of the surface portion is damaged for the runway. If that sort of things is reported, immediately that can severely impact the entire traffic flow. It can throw entire system out of the gear, and it can put all the departing and the arriving traffic on hold. So departing traffic can hold on ground, that is comparatively a lesser problem. But arriving traffic, ATC has to take them to a right location, put them in the holding pattern at a different altitude, taking more amount of time, more amount of fuel. So this situation, what I have quoted, it is not an unusual situation. This has happened multiple times. But what exactly happened? The portion of the runway, whether it's an initial touchdown zone from the threshold to up to certain distance, followed by where typical braking happens, where aircraft is exiting from the rapid exit at a various speeds. Due to this sort of initial impact of the heavy machine at a very high speed, it has got a surface impact. It has got a surface damage and the rubber deposition. Followed by when aircraft is exiting, it has got a heavy braking, and also it has got a rubber deposition when aircraft is vacating the runway. So typically in this two stage, we find a lot of runway surface damage. It happens. So runway, and there has to be a periodic maintenance. The airport owners and airport operators, whether it is a private operator, whether it is an airport authority themselves, they need to periodically maintain these areas. So there are schedule and the maintenance checks, and there are long-term checks. So if these sort of elements we understand from a predictive level, that we have a very high level resolution at a very short square. The runways runway length is typically around 3,500 to 4,000 meters. So typically it ranges from 3,000 to 4,000, and width is around 45 meters. So now you can imagine the segment. If the periodic maintenance needs to be done, there has to be continuous monitoring. Today, the manual monitoring method will not work. That is the close level of digital modeling has to come into the place. So that could detect the surface condition, deterioration of the surface condition, not only the surface level, also the how the historically the areas are getting damaged. That is going to put a preventive sort of maintenance, and these data could be managed in terms of the biggest maintenance area of the runway. Similar model could be adopted in the other portion of the airports as well. That goes as a part of the predictive maintenance. Certain area where it could work on the ground services and the daily operations part of it. Let's say that is something called the aircraft where it is moving the taxiway. Sometimes vehicle also move on the same very close proximity. Often there happens that there are vehicular incursions or aircraft to aircraft or aircraft to vehicle, they come to the close proximity. There are various operational procedures. There are ground surface radar. Those many things, checks and balances are there to stop it, but still yet it happens. How we can implement or bring in this type of technology to prevent such type of elements? That is could be the understanding those areas called hotspots. So understanding the hotspots and geofencing those areas, and that is typically called airport moving map. That is a new next gen technology has already come up. If those elements could be brought in not only at an aircraft level, also at a vehicular level, that is those operational vehicles which are moving inside the airport, if those elements could be brought in, that these sort of data could further control at a predictive level to avoid the incursions, increase the safety margin, and also manage the operations of the airport in a more efficient manner.
Right.
And right.
Yeah.
So now getting into that, your second part of the question, that what exactly we are doing it and we are trying to do. We are trying to get into the area where the data are used by multiple stakeholders at a various levels. When I say multiple stakeholders, it is like air traffic control, airlines, both these parties together. Heavily utilized data is the aeronautical data, which comes as a terminal level, which comes as an en route level, terrain and obstacle data, this everything together, eventually it comes to an element which is called navigation maps, charts, and the data sets. So airline and aircraft operator needs to use it. ATC or air navigation service provider also needs to use it. Now today, what is the challenge? The challenge is all data, they are in isolations. And what we are trying to do, we are trying to bring the aeronautical data into the digitalized format in a manner on the GIS platform. And we are trying to bring in an overlay of other data and bring a correlation. I'll just explain it. Today, if aeronautical data is only there, and if it can be correlated with an aircraft performance data, we are able to draw clean analytics out of it, that which type of categories of the aircraft is flyable under which conditions. As on today, that sort of analytics or that sort of decision-making tool is not there. Second piece, if aeronautical data and aircraft data is mapped, another geospatial data is related to the weather data. Weather data, there is no overlay as on today. We are trying to bring in that is another layer to that and connect to draw correlations. I'll give you one of the example recently what has happened. It is in the public domain where one of the aircraft, Singapore airline, which was flying London to Singapore, has hit the severe turbulence. You know that. So, without getting into the incident or the investigation, we are staying out, making any statement away from that. If we understand, and such an advanced, machine is flying, it has got a high level of detection system. It has got extremely heavy amount of engine thrust, and it is under close monitoring of the controlled airspace. Weather forecast is already available. Aircraft detection system can visualize 120 miles ahead. So still something has happened. The meaning, there is still a scope which are going undetected in spite of so much of advancement in the technology and the implementation, the training procedures. So what we are trying to bring in some sort of integrated digitalized platform, a digital ecosystem, which is going to talk about a digital correlation of the data of the different category and the different stakeholders. Means we bring in ANSP data, we bring in airline data, we bring in weather data, create a multi-layered element, and then try to do a computation with respect to time. So it is a 4D inclusion. So it is a longitude, latitude, altitude, the x, y, z three dimensions added to that against time. That brings us some sort of predictability in the context of not just an analysis, in the context of the operation of the aircraft at X amount of time, Y could be predicted against a Z is a capability. And this decision intelligence through digitization, we are trying to bring out. So that is what we are working towards that. We see there is a huge amount of potential. Digital solutions are there, but they are in isolation. We are trying to bring it to the, as an integrated level. That is what is our journey, and we are on the job. We are working in a close relations with the stakeholders. We are working also in touch with Airports Authority of India. We are looking at some sort of R&D activities, but these are at an initial level, and we are expecting some strong positive elements to outcome to happen.
Okay, thank you. Moving to Rohit, since when we had a discussion earlier as well, and we touched upon the different technologies like BIM, Geo AI, digital twin. So my question is how these technologies, how Bentley is kind of utilizing these technologies, and how how it can play an important role in the digital transformation of, especially of the transport infrastructure sector.
Perfect. Thank you. So, yeah. So, as said, like Bentley, which exists from almost 40 years, and we started the journey from CAD-based application to BIM-based application. Now with the digital twin applications, right? So, when we talk about BIM or digital twins, people may see, okay, so that could be okay. Let us do it in the future, right? But it is not the future concept that we are talking about. It is the present need of an hour in the infrastructure sector. And Bentley, as one of the pioneer in technology partner or provider, so we do have a solutions, so where as my previous speaker also mentioned, so in terms of runway monitoring, in terms of dam bridge monitoring, so we have integrated digital twin with capabilities of AI and machine learning. So what I mean to say is, so there are I would say solutions which can be used, which reduces your predictive maintenance or preventive analysis for the runway, where there will be a least possibility for going and doing the survey manually. So what we can do is, with the help of drone surveys, so we have developed the technology, we capture the drone imageries, and with the help of trained AI systems, so the AI systems will measure a crack to accuracy, right? So this will help in terms of avoiding the closures or delays in the airside movements, right? In the same line with bridge, or in same line with the dam, so being humongous structures, so you don't have I would say manual inspection as a possible strategy over there. But with the help of digital twin, what you can do, or with the help of AI based solutions, what is in their market, so I'm not just talking about Bentley, so we do have multiple technologies which needs to be explored. But we have proven case studies or success stories where people have adopted this dam monitoring, bridge monitoring, runway monitoring on their projects, and they have taken out the benefit. But before going into that operation and maintenance, obviously it starts the journey from planning and designing and building, right? So digital twin is not a concept which is meant for actually the operation and maintenance. It starts from phase one, which is the planning to building to design and operate maintain. So what will happen in the planning and design phase? So it mainly helps in improving the actual, I would say planning or laying out a proper road network, so which will give me in efficiency in terms of optimized route planning, so which was one of the point that you mentioned in your slide also. So because of these technologies, people have voted, so they are able to improvise the route planning. But also I would add to that, so we are able to improvise and also optimize the route planning, right? When it comes to design build, so people are able to make efficient resource planning with the help of technologies. So that is how the technology will play a role in every phase of the project, and whatever it is developed in a phase one can be consumed till the like operation and maintenance phase.
Dr. Gildial, I have a question. So my question for next question is, we were discussing about these case studies yesterday when I had a call with you, and you talked about the different unique challenges that you face when developing projects in tricky and hilly terrains. So, how different technologies are helping you overcome these challenges? If you can give a kind of a brief on that. We are kind of running out of time. Pradipta is
So,
giving me
yeah.
indications, so we'll have to wrap it up a bit early. So yeah,
So yeah,
over to you.
this is in fact very important questions, and lot of development activities is going on as far as Himalayas is concerned. And Himalaya, as you know, that from 500 meter to 8,000 meter is the height where we are developing our network, right? So the major challenges which we are facing is that digitizations of the database which is required for any infrastructure, like say for me, landslides are one of the most important factor which is affecting lot of infrastructures in the hilly terrain. So if we capture those landslides, and as you know, the GIS have a capabilities where we can put different layers at different layers, and then superimpose each other, and then find out that where the problematic areas are and how we can come up with those problematic areas, like say geology, which earlier in fact, as far as the infrastructure project is concerned, is not taken seriously. But now day by day, because a lot of things is happening, people are now more concerned about the safety and security of the people. So in that case, the geological aspects is one of the most important factor, so that we can capture all geological discontinuities which is there all along the infrastructure where we are laying, like say joint patterns, faults areas, or say another very important part is rock type classifications, and based on that then we can decide that which type of in fact a road, say if I talking about the road, so how we will construct a road at that particular stretch. And another very important part, recently I was in Malaysia, and what I have seen that slope stabilizations they have done very meticulously. In
Right,
our cases in hilly terrain, most of the time when we are laying our alignment, we should consider that rather than going for the cut condition, it should be the cut and fill conditions, so balancing is required. So and based on that, how we can stabilize our slope, which is sometimes it is more than 60%. So definitely when the rock type or the soil type is at 60% slope, definitely the landslide will occur at that particular portion. So the most important part nowadays what is required is that multiple source data we should include inside that, and the scale for that, which is a very important, is that if you are going with 1 is to 25,000 scale for a planning perspective, I don't think that will be workable. In that case, we should go with the
right,
mind at least 1 is to 10,000 or 1 is to 5,000 scale for the road segment. We should go for the detailed survey and include all the factors which is affecting that particular infrastructure. So that is another case. Another very
right,
important part which I have seen recently is that toe erosion by river is there all along the highways, because when we are talking about Himalayas, so Himalayas have a lot of rivers, and those rivers are perennials. They are cutting from the bottom, and then the road segment is collapsed most of the time. I have seen that. So that is another area which is very important. We have to look into that. Another
right,
important part is the material which we are using, right? to construct the road. So say for example, if you'll go to the Rohtang pass and like that, so the temperature is very low, so the temperature variations leads to development of cracks in over the surface of road, and maybe within 1 month the road conditions deteriorated. So all those factors, which is very important as far as the Himalayan terrain is concerned,
Right.
should be taken into account. That is what.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Agilia. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, so I'm really sorry. I actually had a few more questions for all the panelists, but since due to the paucity of time, we'll have to kind of stop this panel discussion here. And I really hope that we can get back some other time to discuss more on these pertinent topics that we were shedding light on today. So, having said that, I would like to finish this session and would like to invite Pradipto. And before that, I would like to thank all the panelists for giving us the time today and joining us for this panel discussion. And I hope that we get to see you very soon in our upcoming ventures as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Over to Pradipto.
Thank you. Thank you, Titas, for conducting this wonderful session along with our experts, and also special heartfelt thanks to all our esteemed panelists who took their precious time to join us for this important dialogue. And I understand that, of course, this was getting into very interesting territory, and I could possibly sense that we had few more questions that we would have asked, from these experts, understand a bit more about the kind of projects they are involved in and some of their initiatives in this space. However, of course, respecting the time limits that we have set for ourselves and for our esteemed audience, I think this particular presentation has to end for now. However, I'm sure that, with the enthusiasm that we are getting in terms of the participation of the audience, we probably would have more similar ventures on transport sector dedicatedly in the days to and in the months to come. For now, of course, I would like to inform all of you that, yes, this was the end of the transport infrastructure webinar for the Indian market, but certainly not the end of the Geobuiz Engage webinar series. Now, with your support, we have been able to, bring out this thought leadership initiatives across, talking about the adoption and the importance of geospatial technologies at the sectoral, regional, and national levels. So I think the journey would continue with your support, and we look forward to seeing you in our next presentation soon. So until then, wish you all a great day ahead. Thank you so much. This is Pradipta Ghosh from Geospatial World signing off along with the rest of the team. Thank you.